Yes. Yeah. Good morning. Welcome back to the plenary. I have one announcement before we start with the results of the election. The group for Talking Circle number 8 that was led by Sandra Fox, you are needed to be at room 118, Fireside Inn, before lunch after the hymn and grace by Diocese of Moosonee and Quebec and Central Newfoundland. 110? Okay, room 110 at the Fireside Inn. That's to get your pictures done. Well, here we are, ready to launch our new working group, our new wonderful dedicated working group. I'm going to call someone up from each ecclesiastical province to announce their delegates, and those delegates will come up and stand here. All right, so the first one I'm going to call on is Canada. And Canada, Gerald, come up here, please.
Okay. Okay, from Canada, we had a big crowd of about 20 or 30 of us, to fight over, but there was only 3 of us. So we had it easy, not like Rupert's Land. But anyway, so what we decided, and talking, Silas says he can't be able to serve on ASIP, and Ruby and myself decided we would take the role, and we hope that we can do the best we can, and we hope our work will be rewarding with you all. And Ruby, you could come up so they'll see what it is. Come up, Ruby. I'm from the Central Diocese of Newfoundland. You could tell that by the way I talk sometimes, but now, Ruby, you could tell where you're from. I guess they all know you anyway.
Good morning, Wachia. Mehtan tahtan minas bego kian mehtan anskatukuch mioimun ga nignoitan. Good morning. I'm very happy to be here again, Sacred Circle, and to see old friends and new friends, making new friends. I feel so blessed and honored. And I'm from the Scabie Nation of Kawachikamach in northern Quebec. And I was on ASEP before.
From the Ecclesiastical Province of Ontario, Sandra Fox is staying on, and she's going to come and announce the new delegate.
Rod Brandt Francis.
Thank you, Rod. From the BC and Yukon Ecclesiastical Province, Ray Aldred, please come and announce your delegates.
called for nominations 3 times. We had 3 names, so we had to have an election, and the election resulted in Yvonne Gessinghouse and Kathy Martin being elected as the representatives to ASIP from the ecclesial province of Yukon, British Columbia.
Come on up. The Archbishop, our presiding elder, will announce who the delegates are for Rupert's Land.
Lord have mercy. I am pretty sure that everybody's fully aware that Rupert's Land is unique. It is wonderful. This is my time to get in very nice too, with a wonderful bishop, an Archbishop Metropolitan, my dear brother. But Rupert's Land is a huge province. It consists of all the north. It consists of a large body in the west. And we have discovered that there are, and I say we because I am part of everybody's now, is that we have discovered that there is a unique voice that needs to be raised up, and a lot of new concerns that have now come up and have risen that out of this gathering. So I recognize that there are some strong voices, but I'm going to, who would like to come and forward and speak for Rupert's Land better than I can? Travis, my dear brother. No pressure, no pressure.
So as we gathered and we made circle and we heard voices and we heard the complexities and we heard histories, what was our blood memory? What was the memory that was coming forward from the smoke-filled times in BC called, where we were? Prince George. And we realized out of that there was some confusion, particularly in Rupert's Land. So we had several members that were elected and only served one term in that particular moment. But we also recognize that we're a vast and complex place. And we had to come to consensus that we needed more voices to be brought to Sacred Circle. Recognizing that each of the provinces have to agree to this particular process. So because I use a hunting metaphor. Even though that we were the biggest group and the biggest hunters, that we can't expect to feed everybody unless we include all our members. So we elected 6 people from Rupert's Land, and we're only supposed to have elected 1 person. What we did was we came to the consensus that each of those unique voices had to be present at Sacred Circle, knowing that the other provinces should equally be allowed to increase their voice if they thought there was a diversity of voice that was necessary as well. So my dear friend Alex made a motion that the people who were previously elected in Prince Rupert will continue to stand this next Sacred Circle. And then we went around and each of those persons affirmed that they will do the good hard work of being the voice for their particular communities. And then the second thing we said though is we can't leave this mess. Part of the work that the Rupert's Land wants is a clear electoral system for electing members to Sacred Circle. And part of that work would be talking about boundaries, how do we look at how we gather? Because in Prince Rupert, we went by province, by diocese. Here, we went by provinces. But both those particular ways were designed in a very colonial sense. Why are these people grouped together? So I think moving forward, the piece of the work is how then should we have an electoral system that is completely and utterly Indigenous in mind and in function? How do we group people together? How are those election processes happening in those unique places? So that is where we came to consensus. So we elected 6 people, but we need your consensus as well for that for us to increase that number. We're not saying we want to do this without you, but we need your consensus to make this happen. So the people that we went around and affirmed were Frida. Come up, as I say them. Rosie, Sheba, Mabel, Martha, Murray, and Teresa. So each of these members were previously elected in Prince George. So we felt it was right to have the continuing voices from the bishop circle that were part of us, and within our own circle, that we needed this blood memory, this memories of moving forward in this particular time. And each of them went around and made a strong personal commitment. And I know for me, it's not what you've necessarily done last week. It's what you're going to say you're going to do in the future. And each of these people said, I will work hard for the future. So these are our delegates here. So we also need your consensus to make this a reality for us all. Am I being clear? Is there any questions?
I just wanted to clarify that I'm standing up here for my mother, Teresa Huckett. She was ill during this whole process of the last 3 years, but she is making her commitment strong and will be here for representation for ACIP. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
So I had brought up that British Columbia has
Yes.
over 300 of our over 600 nations.
Yes.
And we have done what we've been asked to do, which was to bring 2.
Yes.
So
We acknowledge that. Your voice was particularly brought up in that. I think Bishop Chris acknowledged that if we need to increase this number, that may change the dynamics of how we meet. So we may meet, traditionally we met 2 times in person. That may mean structurally we may meet 1 time in person and more times online. But I think the acknowledgement in our circle is that we would welcome more representation from British Columbia and the Yukon.
So we all re-elect people now? That's what we're going to do. We'll all go and re-elect more people.
I would say that then you don't have a consensus from us,
Yeah.
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 so then you're probably not finished.
No, I agree. I think that was an acknowledgement that we knew that was going to happen. We knew this is our particular process was going to be that. But you guys can decide. But I think it has to be based on representation also in your particular area. So I think Amos wants to say something.
Just a point of clarity. We did not have an election.
Yeah.
We didn't elect them, but we just went by that a member can serve 2 terms. That's what we did.
Mm-hmm.
And we also pointed out that we have to come back to the circle, see how you feel about this. So that's on the table now.
Yeah.
I realize we want to do things in an appropriate way, and we want to be, the representation is fair.
Mm-hmm.
I realize that, and that I think that's what we need to talk about here. Miigwech.
Yeah. So I think that's where we're at. So there's two ways in which we can build consensus. Is for if there's some provinces that feel comfortable with their number of representation based on their size, they can say we file a consensus. The consensus of the body could be, no, you guys go back, Rupert Lands go back and make an election and only have 2 people, 3 people, 2 from the south and 1 from the north. Yeah. At one point in time, ACIP had 42 members, and we're trying to get down. But canonically, the challenge that we have, because yesterday we approved a document, and that document says that we need 10 people from the 4 provinces, recognizing that this is a moment of transition, right? So we will work towards that if that is the will of the body. Or we have to look at what does representation look for us moving forward. Those are the 2 questions I think that we have to decide today. So if you want us to go back and do that, we will do that piece of work. Like Amos said, we brought this forward as a way of building consensus, knowing that there's a need for a much more understanding of representation. Or provinces can go back and say, we elect these many people, and then you can bring that, we can bring that all to consensus. We personally, Rupert's Land would say, whatever consensus groupings you guys provide for us, we will meet consensus in. So those are the 2 choices that we have.
Where are the 6 nations represented by the people they have?
Sure, well, so come forward and represent, just say your nation. Your nation. Your nation. What are you, Cree? Are you?
Oh, Cree from Brandon Diocese.
Yeah.
Northern Manitoba.
No, Northern Manitoba. Northern Cree.
I'm Blackfoot from the Calgary Diocese.
Me as one Inuk, but my people are Inuit. I come from the Diocese of the Arctic.
Cree, Peguis First Nation.
Your nation.
Gwich'in Nation from the Diocese of the Arctic.
Gwich'in.
Gwich'in.
Nation, Oji Cree from Indigenous Spiritual Ministry of Mishamakwish.
Montreal Cree Nation.
Plains Cree.
Oh, Plains Cree, yes.
Does that satisfy? So does BC have a desire to re-caucus, or do you want us to re-caucus, or what is the desire of BC?
Well, I can't speak for all of BC.
Well, there you go.
But I thought we had consensus before when we all went to our groups, and now you're saying that we didn't have consensus?
I don't think there was actually, I'll be honest with you, I don't think we ever came to a point of even asking the question of consensus. I think we rolled into that particular process, and that when we came as Rupert's Land, we realized there was not consensus. There was confusion over boundaries, there was confusion over who was elected, there was confusion over who was appointed, there was confusion over the length of the terms. Does the terms that, the COVID term, does that classify as one of the terms? We had a sacred circle, but we didn't necessarily have a vote. So when we came, there was no point, and I love the work that the administrators have done, but there was no point of consensus when we had the election. We kind of rolled into elections. That one of the criteria that we had at Rupert's Land is that we have a process that's based on understanding of boundaries, understanding of election process between each nation or within each particular set of boundaries. So no, you're correct, Ray. We did not have consensus. I don't think I felt, personally, I
Well,
don't think I felt
Well,
consensus.
that's not what I'm saying. I didn't say we didn't have consensus. My understanding was that we did because we all left here and went to our things, and we've come back. And
But I know, Ray, you know,
And so then-
consensus is not an ongoing thing. Because
So
every
then-
point of consensus, there's
Excuse
always
me.
points of concern, right? That is what happened. We had a first circle of consensus, then we have a point of concern. So, and that's, we can talk about the minutia of that, but Alex wants to say something though.
but you
May I just interrupt real swiftly? We have to keep in mind that this is a new covenant, and there's time for change. We are the ones that are making this decision. We're no longer asking for them to make decisions for us. So let's keep that in mind.
But this is
I don't mean any disrespect here. I understand this is elections, and we're all leaders. We all have a voice.
Yeah, totally.
I am going to ask that when someone is talking, that everyone else be mindful and allow that person to speak fully and wait until they're heard before anyone jumps in.
Sure, sounds good. Thank you.
I'm sitting here and I'm seeing the disrespect because of elections. That's not who we are as First Nations.
I agree totally. Yeah.
Thank you.
Someone asked for the reading of the gospel, so maybe we can do that now.
Carolyn, will you get our gospel?
I
While
don't
the
have a
gospel
Bible.
is being gathered.
Where's the First Nations version right there?
Good morning. My name is Alex Campbell. I will all stand for the gospel. I'm going to say a prayer in Cree first. No tao iminan gitsigis yugaya en kitawiga natin tawan guinuin. Anot sumota ka mamoin tuak. Kaudnago taningan skago aginin yogen to tamatak mas kay sin taminiguisya. Eko tay tamay yaktan tetay sipmutiago meskano. Kagagyaudin tuago ma kwesta panito ako mayo kaya mi ay niwag kananagatsitag. Eko mas kay sin to tamag tainan. Kwes ko ikaw ang nanagatsitsiga at ego kaudnagog. Eko at sino po minam sotsu kay muna ta at sigo muna sway na. Eko gitom ko kano pa atena ano ugego na uta kaani mutamag. Most gracious and loving God, we ask you this morning to give us the strength through our hearts and our community to come together in our gathering today for this very important covenant that we're talking about today that will lead our people through the next phase of our self-determination in our church, our Indigenous Anglican Church of Canada. That's our vision. So we ask you for your strength. We ask you for your understanding. We ask you to give us the direction to move forward on this very important topic in our history. In God's name, we ask. The Holy Gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ, according to Mark 10, verses 46 to 52. They came to Jericho, and as he and his disciples and a large crowd were leaving Jericho, Bartimaeus, son of Timaeus, a blind beggar, was sitting by the roadside. When he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to shout and say, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." Many sternly ordered him to be quiet. Be quiet. But he cried out even more louder, Son of David, have mercy on me. Jesus stood still and said, Call him here. And they called the blind man, saying to him, Take heart, get up. He is calling you. God is calling us here today. So throwing off his cloak, he sprang up and came to Jesus. Then Jesus said to him, What do you want me to do for you? What do we want Jesus to do for us today? The blind man said to him, My teacher, let me see again. Let us see again. Our peoples need to see again. Jesus said to him, Go, your faith has made you well. Immediately he regained his sight and followed him on the way. The Gospel of Christ.
So I think there's an acknowledgement on our parts of a change in consensus. So I think that is a question about how we want to move forward. So I think maybe
I'm going to ask everybody, I'm going to take over the mic again.
Awesome.
I'm going to ask everybody right now, do we want to continue in this process that Rupert Land has led us into, or do we want to stay by the books and keep it as exactly it was in the very beginning, so that we have, from Rupert's Land, will come out three, I believe it is it three?
Yeah.
The three bodies that will come forward, and names that will be presented to our ACIP board. So let us, how do we want to do this? By put it, Alex? Do we have a mic? Right up here. I think it's on mute.
Okay. Anyway, I just wanted to, one clarification, a very important clarification. If we're going to be following the rules of engagement that were set by the canons, we had one person that was rolling over, and his term wasn't ending. So we had 5, but all of those 5 same people were elected in Rupert's Land. So this is their first term. Because of all what's happened with COVID, and there was no elections in between. Part of the reason I made the motion to continue with the same people that are on the deck is to provide some continuity and to give them the appreciation and the commitment to finish their terms. That was my backup when I made the resolution, and it's continuation. Also, they bring all the knowledge and the hard work that's been done through the years. We even have one knowledge keeper there that should remain there. At least that's what I thought. So that's the clarification there. And when we're doing it just in our caucus here, we were not going to dictate to other caucuses on how they operate. Thank you.
Yeah.
Behind you.
Good afternoon. I'm not sure if it's noon yet, but I want to pose one thought with the deepest respect for what you would like to see happen. I was thinking your second or third candidates stay with whoever you feel would be your best representation. And those of you who have other voices and issues that you would like to bring forward, maybe consider a memorandum of understanding with your other nominees and ASIP, and you still would be able to meet in a separate caucus in your territories and bring those issues and voices forward by the representatives who are taking your voice forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorothy. That is wisdom.
In this document, it says that under number 3.18 of the Anglican Council of Indigenous People, I think that it would probably be good if I suggest if we stay with the original process proposed this morning, but that this request, this resolution be put on the agenda for ASEP first meeting that they have, so that going forward this would be resolved in a good way. That's what I suggest. I'll be honest, I was angry, but Treaty 8, that's what we get like up there sometimes. We try to color between the lines most of the time. So, thank you.
And the problem with Treaty 6 is we always strive to be the peacemakers.
Amen.
Some clarification. Travis said that our way of life had said that we could elect 10 people. Our way of life doesn't say that. So, clarification, the point of reference was that it was 2 from each province, plus the 3 that you were going to appoint.
I am hearing consensus from the floor. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask that Rupert Land get back together again. And I know it's going to be a short talk, but we'll give you 10 minutes while the rest of us get another coffee, another tea, get to relax. And we'll send you back, and if you can, come back with 3.
Sounds good.
3. I better clarify that. The reason that they get 3, not 2, is because I have asked that, 1, I need to know that we have representation, because that is one of the reasons that of my ministry, my mandate, and I've said that from the beginning, is that's one of the reasons I live in Edmonton, and at the same time I have an office there and an office in Toronto. It is that wide stance to make sure that we have representation to all the nations and all the people here. Edmonton is an incredibly opportunistic jump-off point to go to the north. Because I know anyone that travels north, you come into Edmonton. It's either that or also Ottawa. But I think we need also representation for the west as much as we do for the east, and at the same time the north. So I believe in balance. I believe in trying to make sure that we have representation from everybody. So what I've said is that I'll give up 1 position because I want to make sure, because Rupert's Land includes the Diocese of the Arctic. We need voice from the Arctic. They are our brothers and sisters who are oftentimes forgotten, left out. And I know that because I sit in the House of Bishops, and I've been there for 5 years now, and I've seen that. I love my brothers and sisters to the north. So I've given up 1 position of mine choices to the Arctic, and then 1 to the south, which is theirs to choose from. So it comes down to they have 2 plus my 1. That's why they have the 3. Three bodies that will come back.
Yeah.
But all I ask is that the north be represented. And if Martha, if you stay on, God bless you. Because I know we will work together, because we have worked together very well already and conversed very well at Council General Synod. I don't want to sway anything, but I am swaying things by saying this. But I want to make sure that we have representation for the north. The northern voice is heard. So
we will caucus.
I will ask you to all go back and come back, and out of the deepest love and respect for all of you and your voices, this brings peace to us all, doesn't it? And at the same time, we will stay in prayer for them, that the voices that they bring forward will be the ones that are going to serve all of us best. For the rest of you,
Thank you for clarifying that to all of us. Now it makes sense. Your appointment handed to them. There, perfect, perfect.
Are we staying here, Travis? Yeah, we're staying here. Or are we asking, because people are late, we're not sure where we're going.
Thank you. I'll go and see my people that elected me. Well, I thought I was going to speak, so I stood at the mic, but they started talking.